So, greetings. I am Philip Fulton, 1 year MBA student from Jacksonville, Florida, and this is my lithium supply chain presentation on China. So, first, we're going to get into why lithium matters. So, lithium is a metal that is really extracted from hard rock mines, and the industry is a critical segment in the global clean energy and battery supply chain. So the application is used for different batteries. So a lot of technology applications, so electric vehicles, smartphones, laptops. And there is a high demand due to the electric vehicle market kind of skyrocketing. So everybody kind of wants a piece of the pie. So now we're going to get into the key facts of China. They're the world's #1 producer of electric vehicle batteries. They're actually also the global #1 refiner in the world's lithium. And they do invest a lot in other countries to mine lithium and to import lithium. And they do face challenges with domestic mining and recycling infrastructure. So these are the three key issues that I found. The first issue is environmental resistance to domestic mining, and local communities and environmental groups really don't like this because it causes a lot of pollution and it kind of messes up their environment. The second issue I have is overdependence on imported lithium. So they rely heavily on other countries, and this kind of creates a vulnerability because if something happens in that country, that could threaten their battery production. And then the last issue I have is the lack of lithium recycling infrastructure. China does not have a nationwide system to recover lithium, so that's why they have to depend on mining and imports. So these are the three alternative courses of action that I found. So strengthening domestic mining through cleaner, sustainable technologies, just making domestic mining cleaner and less harmful to the environment. Diversify the lithium supply through long-term strategic partnerships. So not depending too much on one country because if something happens, so kind of diversifying their partnerships and investing in a national lithium recycling and circular economy infrastructure. And this will kind of reduce the gap for recovering their domestic materials. So now getting into alternative one. So China can increase their domestic lithium production just by having cleaner, sustainable technologies. And this would also help out in the communities because it would be safer and it would be better for the environment. And one country that actually did something similar was Austria, but they did this with the rare earth materials. And Australia really upgraded its rare earth materials with cleaner, just technologies. And China really can do the same thing because in Australia, this reduced pushback from different groups, and it really helped them to help their environment. So I think China could do a similar thing when it comes to lithium. Now I have alternative two. So China, basically, they don't have to depend on one partner or a couple partners. They can kind of diversify, go to different countries across different continents. And an example of a country that did something kind of similar was Germany. So we did get into the Russian Ukraine war this semester, and after this war, they kind of formed deals with different countries. So they wanted to reduce its dependency on one single country. So I think China can do a similar thing with lithium, and this would strengthen their energy security and they'll be just less exposed to different risks in the environment. And the last alternative I have is, investing basically in their own national recycling infrastructure. And it'll just make it easier, and they wouldn't have to depend on imports, and they wouldn't have to deal with other people. They can just get it themselves. And this actually happened with South Korea. They did a lot of public-private partnerships that helped develop a national battery recycling network. And China can use a similar model, just focusing on EV battery lithium recovery. And with South Korea, this improved their resource efficiency and import dependence. So they didn't have to depend on other countries as much. So now we're going to get into evaluating each course of action. So with my evaluation, I basically took the main issues and kind of asked if each course of action would address this. So for alternative one, it does effectively address the environmental concerns because it's cleaner methods. It does address import dependency because it reduces the reliance on other foreign sources, but it doesn't address that recycling gap. So um, I did not choose that one. So for the next one, alternative two, diversifying kind of their partnerships. This does not address any of their environmental concerns. So, but it does address the import dependency because they are diversifying, and it doesn't address the recycling gap that they have. But now we're going to get into alternative three, which addresses all three and which is the best recommended recommendation. Now we're just going to get into why this is the best recommendation. So, first of all, with the environmental concerns, it does reduce the need for new mines, and it basically lowers like environmental damage, and it will kind of help with the public. It would ease the resistance to kind of the mining, and it when it comes to import dependence, it builds a domestic source in of life batteries, and it also lowers resistance to international suppliers, so they're not dependent too much on different suppliers to get lithium. And lastly, it does establish the missing link in China's supply chain. They are good with everything, but they don't have this recycling infrastructure. So this would enhance its supply security through resource recovery. So these are some of the key assumptions I had. You know, the EV demand will in China will keep rising. Um, Lithium recycling technology will improve, become cheaper, and the companies would work together with the government. So these are the links to where I did my research. Thank you for watching this presentation, and have a good day.